Hello, everyone. It's Sunday, and it is time for an edition of Sunday's Breakfast with Botanicas Illustrated Orchid Guide, and also comparing those with my orchids collection. Today is Sunday, October the 24th, I believe, and we are in the greenhouse because I have brought mostly everything inside. Now, just because I brought everything inside does not mean everything is in the greenhouse, which is not the case, unfortunately. So, I am going to do the best I can with showing you my examples of the species that I'm going to be talking about in this culture guide here. And let's just get started with it. Today we are on P, which is a very large letter of number of species and genuses. So let's just get on with P. So, I can't believe we've almost made it through this book, folks. And thank you all for continually supporting me and watching me week after week with this. I think culture is one of the most important things, as far as if it's not the most important thing. So now we're on P. So, okay. Papstia. I never heard of Papstia. Yeah, never heard of Papstia. I had to look at it again for a second. Okay, now we're on Paphiopedilums, which is the slipper orchid, of course. Lady slippers. Genus extends from India, southern China, through Southeast Asia, Philippines, New Guinea, so on, so on, so on. So about 60 species. Used to be classified as Cypripedium. They grow mostly at moderate altitudes, under dense shade, on the rainforest floor, or in leaf mold on rock faces, and occasionally as epiphytes. Many of these species are threatened in the wild due to overcollection. Okay, so let's just go through. Actually, let me just go on and say cultivation depends on the origin of the plants, but most of the species grow best with intermediate and part shade. Although I would say that if you are giving them this and they are not blooming, then always increase the light. Potting mix should be well drained but moisture retentive, and the plant should be kept evenly moist throughout the year. So I use the same mix that I use for my Phalaenopsis, if that explains anything. All right, so let's just go through these species, and I will point out the ones and show the ones that I have, and talk about the ones that I have had. Apollontonianum, I have never had. Armeniacum. Now, I have had Armeniacum. To make a long story short, when I first started orchids, I was primarily growing the mottled leaf Chinese orchids, which were advertised at the time as being easy growers. Now, Armeniacum, while that is not known as an easy grower, it is in that class of China growers where they like somewhat of a distinct dry season, although not a complete dry season. They don't want to dry out too much. They still like high humidity. The thing about Armeniacum, though, is that it has a long rhizome in which it spreads underground under the media. So you have to put it in a pot that is a wide pot, like a bobo pot or something long, to accommodate that rhizome that it puts out. But all paths are very slow growing. These are no exception. In fact, I think these China paths are slower growing than most, in fact. So I had an Armeniacum. I mean, who wouldn't want that? That pouch is very attractive. Same as Balachalum, which I had a Balachalum as well that was given to me, and it was very expensive. But at the time, I was a beginner, did not know that these take cool temperatures. Now, Armeniacum also, because you can see that it grows on rocks in moderate and to high altitudes. So, again, it's more of a cooler grower. And I, at the time, was just not up to culture. So, Calosum, Paphium, Charlesworthy Eye. I have a Charlesworthy Eye right now. Again, it's a China species, grows on limestone cliffs, in shade, moderate to high altitude. So this is a cooler grower, and it is a challenge in my environment, of course, because it is stressed in the summer, but it tends to pop up in the wintertime. My Charles Warty Eye has sat over here in this spot since I got it a few years ago, and it actually put up sheaths for me and almost bloomed for me a couple times, but it never did open up the buds. But I have hope for this plant. It has recently been repotted in straight sphagnum moss. And as I said, it sits over here. There's a fan here on the floor, a little bit cooler in the window, and it gets shade, of course, because this is a little microclimate. And this is where all my paths reside in the winter. Well, they reside there all year round, honestly. Charles Worthy Eye is one that I do take outside. Okay, but I put it in shade when it is outside, just so you know. Concolor is another one of those China paths that is beautiful because look at the spots. Who would not? No, this is Delainatii, but Concolor, I believe, has spots as well. I think, no, that is Concolor, that is Delainatii. But actually, both of these are mottle leaf and not Concolor. Yes, they are. They are mottle leaf. And so these are the ones that I was really trying to grow, and plus they're miniatures. But look, if I would have looked, I would have known that it grows at 2,700 altitude foot, and that these grow in dense shade, low to moderate altitudes. So this one should be a little bit more easy to grow, but again, it was probably my humidity. And again, these like a watering rest period. So that was my problem with those. The mottled leaves, I just could not get. Now let's keep on going. I did not have any of those. Phalaenopsis, again, I did try to get this one, and it is reputed to be very difficult, as attested by Ed of Ed's Orchids. But I believe Ed did get his to bloom. But you can see Phalaenopsis is very much reduced in nature, and again, limestone outcrops at altitudes. They are at a high altitude orchid, so I had no business growing those. Okay, so Glucophyllum is one of those that I would love to have someday. These are sequential bloomers and can bloom for years. I would love to have that, but I don't. I did have a Garcianum, but I repotted it and it didn't go so well. These again are from limestone cliffs in Vietnam, and they want a rest period, a small rest period, and they grow at about 3,300 feet. So, but I did bloom that. Hynaudiatum, I had a Hynaudiatum long time ago. It did bloom for me. It was one of my first plants. I got it at Hauserman when I had the greenhouse, one of the first plants. But I don't have it anymore. So anyway, let's keep moving. Millipawens, that was another one of those mottled leaves that I wanted, that was reputed to be very easy. But Millipawens is a China species, grows at limestone cliffs of about 2,300 feet. So it is a cooler grower. And again, I believe these like a little bit of a rest in the wintertime or a lessening of water. But Millipawens also is supposedly has a scent of fragrance of raspberries, and so that makes it again very desirable, as is Macranthum. Look at that lip. Who would not want that? But anywho, I have not attempted to grow those. So let's keep going. Parisia, I know. Philippinens, I do have a Philippinens. I just got a Philippinens, and it did bloom for me. And it is from the Philippines, also from Borneo. Does grow on limestone cliffs, but at low altitudes. And flowering is during the spring. And what I found, what this says, is intolerant of any deterioration in the mixture. I think that's true for most Paphiopediums, because most people don't know when to repot their paths, because you really have to be strict with your repotting as far as paths are concerned, because you're really planting them or potting them up in a moisture retentive mix. Most oftentimes it is sphagnum moss, so therefore, you are having to repot them more frequently. Mine, I put my seedlings in sphagnum, but once they get to be bloom size, I put them in just a regular bark mix with charcoal and perlite. So you can see what that is. This is my Philippinens here. That's the name, and it just bloomed for me recently, and that's that. Um, yeah. So let's go back this way, back to the guide, and I'm gonna not want to be doing this every time that I go down to those paths because I just know I'm going to mess up that Gongora spike that you can see there waving in the wind. But I'll do my best to show you this stuff. Okay, so the next one up here is Primulinum. I do not have a Primulinum. Pupuratum, I don't have that. Rothschildianum, I do not have a Rothschildianum. I did used to. Very slow growing. You really have to get those when they're bloom size because for me, they're just too hard to get from a seedling size. They're just too slow growing. It just takes too long. Same with Stony Eyes, same with all of those slow growing paths. It's best to get them bloom sized. They're expensive enough when they're seedlings, so you might as well get a big one so that you don't have to wait. And they're just a lot easier to grow. Once you move them up and they get multiple fans on them, that is when you really don't have to worry about them because they take off. When they're seedlings, they're very, very, very slow. Okay, so Rothschildianum, that's the rare orchid, one that's highly hybridized that we hear about all the time, Rothschildianum. Supposedly the king of paths. It is Kilibalu on Sabah, Borneo, grows on the slopes. I believe they're limestone cliffs as well. And that's pretty much that. It is also rare in nature because of over collection. Now this one is Path Spicerianum, which I've always had. There's the flower. Limestone cliffs from China, Myanmar, altitudes of 1,000 to 4,300 feet. Inflorescence is one or rarely two flowers. Flowers occur during the autumn. Species should not be allowed to dry out. Now my Spicerianum is right there. And like I said, it does not like to dry out. It is in bud. And that's all I can really say about it at this time. Really pleasant flower because of just the markings and even the little face that's in there. Really, really nice. Succuculii, I don't have a Succuculii anymore, although I would love to have another one. This is really a nice species path to have. Again, it's from northern Thailand, grows in shady forests at high altitudes. So it's more of a cooler intermediate grower. And I used to have one that did bloom a few times, but for some reason I don't have it anymore. I'm not sure what happened. I love Tonsum. Look at that. It's so unique. But I don't have it. And I believe that is a cooler grower. Yeah. And I don't know why my dog is out there barking. Okay, Path Venustum. I do have a Venustum over there. Path Venustum exists in one of the wettest areas of the world, Himalayas. Low altitudes, 4 to 4,000 feet, grows on humus forest floors. Flowers are heavily mottled. Single flowers about 3.5 inches. Keep moisture around. Potting mixture should be free draining. That is Venustum. Beautiful with those warts on the leaves. Very beautiful. And I don't think I have any of those others. Maybe I do have a Warty Eye. Warty Eye is also a beautiful one that is used in hybridization for the green stripes, and also it has warts and hairs along the sepals or the petals. Anyway, it is a higher elevation grower, and they like lots of water while they're growing, but they do like deep shade. And I think I have both of those. My Warty Eye did bloom. I believe it's Warty Eye. And my Venustum bloomed last year. My Venustum is right here. it bloomed off of this growth, and then it put up this new growth. So we'll see what it will do for me. And no, it's not Warty Eye, it's a Curtsy Eye. So, skip that. Okay, and I think that ends my paths as far as species are concerned. Okay, and that book does not have Stony Eye. I do have Stony Eye, which is my favorite path. But, again, the book did not have it. So let's keep on moving. We're talking about this book. And these are some pictures of some crosses, none of which I have. Okay, Papilionanthe. I do not have that. I do have a cross of Papilionanthe, and it is right over there. But crosses do not count. So I'm going to keep going. Now, Paraphalanopsis. I do not have a Paraphalanopsis. I do have a hybrid that is a cross of, I believe it's a cross of Serpingilia and Lubecensis, or maybe, I'm not sure. I believe so. But in any event, it is outside still. I just put it out there because it was a bit dry. Paraphalanopsis has been somewhat difficult for me. They're pendulous, kind of vandaceous growth. Used to be in Phalaenopsis, but they definitely are different than Phalaenopsis. They resemble more like a Brassavola or like a rat tail encyclia. But their flowers are very nice and pleasing. I did have a Paraphalanopsis long time ago. The flower smelled like cinnamon when it bloomed, and then it died. You know what? I think maybe it is in here, and I can tell you exactly what it is. I think it is in here, the Paraphalanopsis. So let me locate it for you. It's not there. Let's walk back this way gingerly. And I'm trying to go slowly so I don't give people whiplash. And pausing to look, because I do believe I brought it inside and put it somewhere. Let's see here. Is it over here? Let me see. Okay. I do not see it up there. Don't see it there. And it is mounted. Yeah, I do not see it. Sorry, folks. I'm wasting too much time on this. It must be. Yeah, I'm not seeing it because I would notice it right away because it is unique. And here we go. Here it is. All right. So the one that I have, like I said, was Calapaking Lecaciatum serpentilia, and this is really what it looked like when I got it, and it has stayed looking this way. It really hasn't done anything. I'm not sure, but I did find it for you, and let's keep moving in a grooving. All right. So we've had that species, Paraphalanopsis. Please help me if you know. Pascatoria, you know, I've struggled with Pascatoria. Pascatoria is epiphytic plants from the wet forests from low to high altitudes. Leaves are narrow. Usually there is an inflorescence with one flower. Cultivation, the species lack storage organs such as pseudobulbs, so they should never be allowed to become dry. These are very similar to Chondrorinca, and there's others that are like this. Bolea is another name for Pascatoria. I actually had Serena, but they were imports from uh, Ecuador, and they failed on arrival because they were dry, and I just have it too hot here. They like it cooler and intermediate. So it was a pipe dream, but they're fragrant and they're just enticing to me, but I can't grow them. Phaeus, I can't grow either. I did have a Phaeus Tinkerville long ago, but my humidity in this greenhouse in the winter does not allow plants to fully dry out, and that's one of them that really wants to dry out. So, plus it gets huge, and I don't have room for huge. I have enough huge without Phaeus Tinkerville. It just gave me too much fits. Okay, Phalaenopsis. I'm really not going to go over the culture because I've done so many videos, and there's so many different species that they all have, different culture. But basically, lack of storage organ means the species require year-round moisture and fertilizing. Species from lowland areas must be kept warm conditions in a heated greenhouse. That was what my failure was up until a couple years ago. They always need good air movement, always, and I would say high humidity. And the species, I would say, like it a little bit higher light, and they like it more moist, especially if they are in their season of blooming, which is now fall into winter. Phalaenopsis amabilis, I do have amabilis. From the Philippines, very fragrant. Amabilis is actually its own section, I believe it is, or maybe it's Ludemaniana. But anywho, a lot of Amabilis is the type species for the genus. That's what it is, Amabilis. And my Amabilis is up here with these long leaves down that are hanging down. It bloomed really nicely, and looks like the one green spike that has already bloomed is giving me another side shoot on it, so that's good. That gets highlight, and I make sure that never dries out. Okay, Amboyensis. Amboyensis is what I was really talking about. I think they have their own section, or it's Ludemaniana. I do have an Amboyensis. I might have a couple of Amboyensis somewhere. They're babies, but they are bloom size, and I'll show those. They are fragrant as well, very fragrant. Bellina, recognized as a separate species. It used to be Violacea. Grows at low altitude, shady, humid. The most fragrant of the genus. Strong, fragrant perfume. Okay, so let me try to find. Here's my Phalaenopsis Amboyensis with a spike. It has been repotted recently. You can see that's the sphagnum moss, and there's a spike, as I was saying. Down this way is my Bellina, which is right here. And it is in pure sphagnum moss in a reservoir so that it always stays moist. And it does have that sweet, fruity scent, just like the book says. But it does have an edge of artificiality. Okay, you understand what I'm saying. All right, Phalaenopsis I don't have. Cornocervi, I collect Cornocervi. Widely distributed species from Borneo. Epiphytic, occasionally lithophytic. Low, moderate altitudes in humid forests. Roots are thicker than most of the others. Flowers open progressively, last about a week. Species should be given warm, humid conditions with brighter light. And that is the species flower. And as you know, if you've watched my videos, I keep all of my Cornocervi relatively together because I collect them, and they are all right here. This one just finished blooming, and this is the type species. I do have several in different colors. They're red, and I have the Chatelard, and then there's Montclair and Jaguar. So I have a few of the Cornocervi. I just love them. Love, love, love Cornocervi. Because the flowers are dainty, small, often striped. There is no fragrance, though. And again, as long as you maintain the moisture and the humidity, they will, and the warmth, they will do really well for you. Okay, here's Phalaenopsis Delicioso. Again, medium-sized dendrobium. Oh, I'm sorry, Phalaenopsis from the Philippines, Borneo, Sulawesi High. Grows no streams, which means it likes water. And I do have a Delicioso, which is right here, that I have only had this summer, but it has definitely bloomed its butt off for me. Love those flowers because they just keep giving and giving and giving. I mean, you can see it has bloomed a very, very long time. So we'll see what it does. Again, it is in a reservoir so that it is always moist. All right, now up here I do not have Equestris fasciata. I do have fasciata, sometimes incorrectly labeled. It's from the Philippines. It's been used in hybridization. Hot, low altitude rainforest orchid. Flower may occur at almost any time of the year with emphasis on spring. And my fasciata is right here. Fasciata. And it has a kiki that has a kiki. Nice roots. This is the main plant that it is recovering. And that is in a reservoir. This has no bottom to it. So water collects in there and then it gets wicked up. All right. Love that plant. Fuscata. I think I just got a Fuscata. Glossy, narrow species from the Borneo, from the Philippines, lowland, hill forests, from the lowland, altitudes below 3,300 feet. I just love the different color of flowers. I believe this is a small, miniature-sized plant that doesn't get to be a big Phalaenopsis. It stays pretty small. And let's see here. No. Pokra. Let's see if I have one. Marii. What's this? That looks like another Amboyensis. What about down here? Corningiana. What is this? That's a Bastianii. I could swear that I have Fuscata, and it is a small miniature plant. Modesta. Okay. Well, anyway, folks, I think I have Fuscata, but seems at the moment it is escaping me. So I am going to just go ahead and move on, I guess, to the next plant. Yeah, that's not it either. I thought it was right up here. This is Pokra. I already said that. All right. Well, let's keep on moving then. Okay. And I'm still looking for it. Nope. Okay. We will find it. Okie doke. Gigantea. Noted for being the largest plant in the genus. Slow to grow reputation. Restricted to Borneo. Grows in the understory of lowland rainforest, sometimes known as elephant ears. Despite its understory, experience indicates that relative high levels of light are necessary for flowering. So they grow in lowland rainforest, humid, shady conditions. Although they like higher light to bloom, and that's why I have my Gigantea which is up here, growing high. And I will probably, at some point in the winter, take this shade off because these plants can handle more sun because the sun levels will drop in the winter time, of course. And so these need more in order to bloom, especially Gigantea. The spikes are like the Bolinas and like the other species that remain green, they will bloom. And there is another spike at the top, right there. And they have both bloomed. They bloomed last winter for me. Very fragrant, but you have to put your nose up to the blooms. Slow blooms to open. They're very shy, but very nicely patterned once they do. Also nicely patterned is Phalaenopsis Hieroglyphica. I've had issues with this plant. I mean, it is a moderately altitude plant, so it is more intermediate. Likes a little bit more shade than some of the others do, but it likes water nonetheless. And seems to me it needs to be a big plant in order for it to bloom pretty well. These are known for their number of their plants for each blooming, and they're also known for the patterning as well. I have finally got nice hieroglyphicas that bloom for me. One of my hieroglyphicas is right here, and the tag is right down here. I saw it fall. But this is one of my hieroglyphicas, and they have both been repotted. That one has been repotted, and you can see the spikes have stayed on the plant. It's got kikis, nice roots. And my other hieroglyphica that I have is over here, back here. And again, it was repotted. It still has those spikes on the plant. Doing very good as far as I'm concerned. Now, my other Gigantea, I have an Alba Gigantea here, and here's another Alba Gigantea, but we are talking about species. Okay, and I do not have either of those two. Ludmaniana, I do not have a Ludmaniana. I do not have Manii, and I don't have a Palens. I don't have Parishii. I do have Philippinens, and my Philippinens is actually right here. No, that's Sanderianum. I don't have a Philippinens. I used to have a Manii. I would love to have a Manii because it's similar to Cornocervi. Has really nice patterning. You can see those bars in there. I love that. But my Pulchra, I do have Pulchra. It is also known to be a subspecies or a variety of Ludmaniana. Low altitude plant. I believe it is very fragrant, long-lasting flowers, shorter upright flowers, and that's Pulchra. And then I'll just go ahead and do Schilleriana, which is one of the most popular, I would say, moth orchids. Very fragrant, mottled foliage that is very attractive. Branches nicely with every blooming once it gets to be blooming size. Cool period during winter is required. That's what that says. And then I have a Vinosa, which could be one of my favorite because it is very fragrant and unique. There is the flower. Vinosa is, again, it's a moderate altitude plant. Branching inflorescence. It says it has an unpleasant scent. I don't believe that. I think it's very musky, very exciting, complex. So, okay, so Pulchra, I have a couple Pulchras, and I think this one was a Pulchra, but I also have shown you my Pulchra that's up here that I got from Equigenera that's doing excellent. You can see it was repotted in that Phalaenopsis mix, and it was outside all summer, put up that new leaf, and it is doing really well with its spikes. I am hoping to get some blooms. They usually bloom in this season, so I'm really hoping that I see some blooms. Now, my Schilleriana is right next to my Gigantea, grows a little bit high up. Again, nice humidity, it's right under the fan, gets good air movement. It is shaded. This will not get out in the full sun. I will keep this under shade, but I just love that patterning. And I do have another Schilleriana, which is right here that I just got from Mitzi. An even bigger Schilleriana. And I showed you my Vinosa. is over here in that pot right there. It's just been repotted because it had just finished blooming. Actually, I took it to the show. There's a spike up there. I took it to the show, and it lost one of its sepals on the way to the show, so it did not make my display, unfortunately. But it was a show orchid for me this year. Yay, I love my Vinosa. Okay, let's keep on going. Philodata. Don't have any Philodata. Okay, we're on Fragmapedium. Now, this is another plant that, because of that pouch, and because it was known to be an easy plant to grow, I had a few Fragmapediums, and at the time, I know Bessie was very, very popular because it really has not been discovered that long. I want to say it was in the 80s or the 90s, Bessie, I think, because I think Bessie is what morphed into Eric Young. But anyway, I had a Bessie, but again, it's an intermediate growing plant that likes humidity and likes moisture. So I had no business growing Fragmapediums, and that's it on Fragmapediums. I do have a Grande, and they do have a picture of Grande here. I love that face. Fragmapediums have those faces. They either have the lip or they have the face, and that is a face, and that's my Grande. And surprisingly, it is just in straight sphagnum moss, and it is an import from Ecuagenera. It's done really well. Put up some growths, and it has not lost one yet. So fingers crossed on my Grande. Maybe someday I will see flowers. Grande was actually one of my bucket list plants from my original orchid list before I even had the greenhouse. And I know I just threw away the Grande that I had because it really did not do anything. I got it from Hawaii, and it's been in my collection since before I got the greenhouse, if you can imagine that. Okay, Planthera, I don't know. Plantathera, I don't know, never heard. Plectromentis, I failed miserably. This is an angricoid, similar to angraecums. Madagascan, no, they're just West African. They grow like Vandas, long roots, Vanda type growth. I've never been able to grow them at all. Woody stem, you can see pendulous inflorescence. Flowers are very attractive, fragrant at night, but they just did not work for me. Pleons, I've never attempted. And Pleurothallus, no way. Too cooler of a growing plant. And Pleurothallus morph into Polyostachia. So I'm just kind of skipping because I don't grow these cool growers. And there's Polyostachia. Pomaticalpa, I have not grown. So I'm just going to move on just because the video is already so long. Ponthiva, never heard of it. Promenea. Now I have grown Promeneas, and they are the scourge of my existence. I love those little dainty flowers. They're miniatures, but I had no reason. I had no business because they grow in moderate and high altitudes, intermediate and high altitudes. So let's just skip them. I failed miserably. They like shade as well. Prostheticia. I do have a lot of Prostheticia. 100 species occurring from Mexico to Brazil, originally placed in Epidendrum, and then in Encyclia, and so many other things, and now they're in Prostheticia. If they're still in Prostheticia at this time of this video, because they move them around so often, it's chances are they're not. But anyway, they like bright, indirect light, high humidity, and good air movement, like pretty much most orchids. Standard epiphytic mix, although they like a little bit more moisture, although they like less reduced water during the winter when their pseudobulbs have grown and matured. So let's just keep on going down the line. Prostheticia bacalis is the one that I just got from SVO. And it is a species, of course, wet force, 1,000 feet, spindle, sharpened, flattened, inflorescence, sharp two flowers, and it is very fragrant flower. My Prostheticia bacalis, I know I just dragged it down this way. So let's find it. And also, I'm going to point out this, which is my radiata, which I got from Mitzi, and it has a sheath on it right there. And my Prostheticia bacalis is right here, and it also has these two with sheaths on it. And this again was a division that I got from SVO. All right. So let's go back and see what it says about radiata. Okay, I don't have brassavoli. That is a cool growing. You can see altitudes of 4,000 feet. Chacoensis. Did have a Chacoensis, but again, it blasted once the growth matured. Cochleata is probably one of the most popular orchids in general. Easy. The cockleshell orchid, the octopus orchid, long-lasting flowers, ever-blooming. My Cochleata was up here. Might actually still be on the cart that's in the house. I believe that's where it is. It's on the cart in the house because I kept those outside. Those have not made it into the greenhouse yet. So, but I know that the Cochleata, that one of the Cochleatas I got had a sheath on it. Fostechia Fausta, I do not have. Fragrance, I do have a fragrance that is actually in here. It bloomed for me last winter going into spring. It is mounted. Actually, it says it's a cooler growing plant, but mine bloomed for me. I kept it outside. The flowers are very fragrant, but you have to put your nose up to them in order to smell them, to be honest. It's not a wafting fragrance. Garciana, I just got a Garciana. Might as well go ahead and do all of these. Garciana is more of a cooler grower, I know. They have creeping rhizomes, sort of short, about an inch tall pseudobulbs, but the flowers emerge from sheaths from the top of the bulbs that are completed. They can flower at any time, but most likely it's during the spring and summer. And then I do not have a Palmatocarpa. I do not have a radiata, and I do not have a Rhynchophora. What else is in here for Prostheticia? Trula and Vitellina, I do not have those. So let me go find my Garciana and my fragrance, which I know are back here. My one of those is over here, I believe. This is my Garciana, Prostheticia Garciana. You can see it's in sphagnum and very small pseudobulbs, but it has previously bloomed. And there's another sheath there. And my radiata, which is back here as well. My radiata is right here. And it has put up lots of these growths. It matured this growth, and it's maturing this growth. Roots are still active. This is Prostheticia fragrans. And here's my Garciana. So, that is it for the Prostheticia. And again, sorry if I am moving too fast and giving you whiplash. I'm really trying to move a little slower. I should be, because my legs and back are killing me. But okay, we've done Prostheticia, one of my very favorite groups. Okay, so Psychillus, I've tried to grow Psychillus. They used to be in Cycleas and Epidendrums. They are very weird plants to me. They basically bloom from old inflorescence that the inflorescence can be very, very long and tall, and then they get the cluster flowers at the end. They like plenty of sun and light in the summer, lots of water while they're in growth, and they like high humidity, and the water should be reduced in the cooler growths. So, Psychillus. I don't think I have any Psychillus that are in here. I don't have those, but the one Psychillus that I do have is right here that I got from Brethren. Still a small plant, but still a Psychillus. So anyway, that is it. That's it for my Psychillus. Now let's keep going. Psychopsis, I've never had a Psychopsis. Never really had the desire. It's an Oncidium. I'm not really into those. Not so much. Sigmorchus, no. They're beautiful and they're unique, but no. Pterostylus, no. And that looks like that's in the end for P, which is a very big genus. Next time is R, which is another big genus. So, pardon my raggedy book, as you know. And thanks again for watching this culture video using the Botanicas guide and comparing them with my orchids in my collection. Again, thanks for watching and enjoy your orchids. Bye.